I like to wait a second. Maybe what I should do is just boop. Oh no. Too bad we can't just like put up an image. Oh, I guess we could just do a.
Oh, we're live. Hey,
we are live. We are live. I was just checking out to put up an image. What's up, everybody? My name is Indy, and we've got a sparkly background in the back. And the gentleman on the right next to me right over here, that's Mr. J. What game is that in the background, Mr. J. Powell from Powell Group Consulting?
I've been playing Pillars of Eternity too, so I grabbed a screenshot from that because I like the woods. You just have to ignore all the UI on there.
Just ignore the UI. This would. We're having trouble streaming to LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Have you got the frame rate set right?
I mean, it's you can't do that on this.
So anyway,
yeah. So welcome to Indie Game Business, and we are here. We're talking about how to make your studio stand out at a virtual conference, and we are going to be answering questions. So if you have some random questions about anything, we would love to talk about them.
So yeah, we had a wonderful guest lined up today, and then they had to cancel. We're going to have them later this month, I believe, while they're rescheduling. So in the meantime, last night we were like, okay, so what are we going to talk about? And we posted on Discord and said, what do you all want to hear about? And one of the options was, someone said they have been going to a lot of these digital conferences, and there are so many of them now, including ours, that they weren't sure how to make their company stand out. And I said, well, that's something that we can absolutely speak about because that's what we do. So given how many of these things are out there right now, there are a lot of digital conferences. And like we said a couple of months ago, it's a fantastic opportunity for developers to get out there and really get in front of a lot of people that you wouldn't be able to get in front of, any other way. And you could do it cheaper. I think at one point, Andy, we looked at back in May, you could go to every digital conference through the end of August for cheaper than you can send one person to a traditional GDC.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're looking at. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like, yes, it's much easier to go to digital conferences than it was to go to physical conferences, but at the same time, it's also easier for everybody else. So now you are, stuck in this big overcrowded meeting room, basically, and you need to make yourself stand out. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to actually take you through, sorry, folks on the podcast, you're not going to be able to see this, but if you go to any of the video versions that we have, we're going to have it on here. So what I'm going to do is actually go through our Meet to Match event and show you under my account, like how we do this. I didn't realize we're like a month from the show and we have 231 companies signed up already for our event.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, the ones that we had last year before everybody, finally started listening and saying that this was a good thing, we would have 100 to 150 companies and I would be thrilled. And a month out, we have 231 already signed up. So that's awesome. So let's look at, first and foremost, which event should you be going to? Which one should you be investing your time and money in? It's not an easy answer, but to me, it always comes down to, at the end of the day, how easy is it to use their system? How effective is it? It doesn't do you any good to go and, sign up for whatever conference it is if at the end of the day, you can't find the people you want to work with. You can't find the people to do meetings with. So when we started doing this, we started researching digital conferences at the end of 2018 before we did our first one. And I sat down, and because we had used a lot of these meeting services at traditional events for years, I knew who the major players were. But I immediately went to Meet to Match because they are the ones whose system is the easiest to use. I'm not going to go a deep dive into my issues with the rest of them, but it basically comes down to it's too difficult to find who you want to meet with. Their systems, aren't clear, or it lets you, click on too many things, or it's not clear what people are signed up as. GDCs is the worst. And I don't say that just because, I do beat up on GDC a lot on this show, but it is one of those things that it's horrible. They don't have the category set up right. If you're a developer and looking for a publisher, you can't find one. If you're outsourcing and looking for support, or if you are an outsourcing studio, it's next to impossible to find who you want to meet with. So when we do it, we sit down and we say, okay, who are the major people that are going to be at the show? I mean, at most conferences, you're going to end up with developers, publishers, service providers. That's going to account for about 80% of the people that are there. Then you'll have investors, marketing teams, things like that. And they should all be classified. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the service provider companies, all these ad monetization companies and, different tech companies that have an SDK they want you to install, they go in and typically check every single box, because that's one of the things that you have to do to make sure you stand out, is make sure you're properly classified in the system. And these companies go through and, tick every single box that's there. And so they'll show up in all the ratings, basically. So let me see, bear with me for a second, because I haven't done a share screen yet.
Yeah, just click the bottom, says share screen, and then it should help you out there. Ooh,
look at that.
Yeah.
All right. So one, when you use Meet to Match, which is what we use for all of our events, then your profile is saved. But when you first come in, there's two things that you have to do. If you've ever been to one before, or even if you're new, go to my profile.
Fill it out.
All right. So there should be an option. So you have to go down here to edit.
Marco, we miss you too, buddy.
Hey, Marco. There used to be, so it's still pulling it. It used to say just like retrieve your old whatever. Choose file. All right. So that should update. Let me double check. Yeah.
Fill it out clear, because if you're going to go and want to talk to people, you're going to read their profile and see what they're all about, what they want, why they're there, what they do, and you want people to have easy access to your information. So fill it out. You'll be surprised when you go to them. How many people or companies do not fill their stuff out?
Too many.
All of them. No, a lot of them. So please just fill it out. It just makes it so much easier, and it only takes you like 5 or 10 minutes. And if you've already got that information somewhere on your LinkedIn or whatever, it's simple. Copy pasta.
Copy.
You like how Jay uses the much older, better looking picture, right?
Oh,
that is rude.
Oh, I should update that. That's my professional. I am at an event, because you can see the ads behind me. I have the other one.
I'm dropping wisdom is what it is.
The other one that I use now is the one that they took when I was at the ALES conference down in Lima. And so there's a little sign beside me, and depending on what photo, how it crops it for whatever platform, sometimes it'll say Senior Powell, and I just love that. I love being Senior Powell. So yes, like you said, first things first, fill out your damn profile. It is absolutely infuriating when we have people come into these shows and they don't cost as much anymore. Some of them still do. Some of them cost $200 or $300. And if a digital event wants to charge that, that's fine. That's their choice. But don't fall for that whole, well, we have to charge this much because the because of our costs and things like that. No, the costs to run a digital event are tiny compared to running a real one. So that's not the case. Our tickets start at, we have like 100 tickets that we sell at $50. And then when those get gone, it's going to move to 60, then it's 70 until, whatever. But keep in mind, we had 900 and some people at our March event. So the tickets can go up pretty quick if you don't go ahead and get one. No pressure. But the people that go on and they're paying, or maybe a trade organization gave them a pass. So because we have that a lot too. Trade organizations come to us and they're like, hey, look, we have 15 studios that want to go. And of course we cut them a deal on prices. But they have this opportunity and then they never bother to fill out their profile. If you're not filling out your profile, you're missing the point, because that is absolutely the first thing you have to do. So it's got, the different, let's go back into the edit thing. You've got the different things that you fill out. This one right here, your company profile, is absolutely the number one most important thing that you have to get honed. This one is the second one. Describe what your company is looking for. These are the things that pop up when people do searches. And so that's what you want to make sure that you've got nailed down. Now, you also need to come down and tick these little check boxes on what you are, but be honest about it. For God's sakes, don't go through here and click all of these things just to show up in all the searches, because that annoys people and they'll just ignore you. If you're looking for an investment, you can click that stuff here. This is the deal size. This is a really, really good one. And so when we are, talking about how you go about getting some of this information on publishers, we talk about that a lot when we go and I do the webinar on how to find a publisher. It's like, you need to categorize your publishers by the size of deal that they do. You can go through the chart at our event and say, oh, okay, look, this publisher is looking for deals up to $2 million, or they're looking for deals only up to 50K. That's some of that data that you can grab and you can understand. And then, you go through here. So what we primarily are looking for as the Powell Group is developers and publishers that need help. We don't need investors. We have PR and marketing taken care of. We don't need the other stuff in there. This is what you're looking for. This is where you put what you are. And of course, we're in other business service. So let me get that saved and get back. So the reason I say that, this is what is so important is because when you go to your searches, and this is just, we haven't done a specific search, but this is your search for, just when you click on the attendees and you see the three things that it pops, or two, is the company profile and what you're interested in. Now, when you're filling out that company profile, it says you have 256 characters, I believe. And then for the is interested in, you have 512. The reality, though, is not all of that shows up here. So you've got about 2 sentences to make it abundantly clear to people what you're doing and what you're interested in, because this is what we look at. When I sit down and I go through, a client, say I got a client that's looking for publishing, they need $200,000. We'll tick those 3 and we search. So already at the show, we've got 36 publishers who are, looking to do deals in the $300,000 range. Now, here's like the first problem. Alta, they're listed as a publisher, but they're not a publisher. They are actually looking for publishers. So they shouldn't have that ticked. I mean, there's no, short of us going through and like manually editing all these things, we can't on the back end solve this problem, but these are things you shouldn't be doing. Yeah, it's the same with this one. We've got several companies in here who aren't actually publishers, but this is what you've got, and so it only shows like those first 2 or 3 sentences, and that's where. So you can't have like this big old long drawn out soliloquy about your game because nobody's going to see it. You need to hit the important stuff right there. So look at what 101 says. Worldwide game publisher for PC mobile browser games. They've been at 10 years. They've launched more than 50 web PC games. And you can go to the details and get, more there. But that's an example of what you want to do to make it abundantly clear from the get-go. So let me see, and I'm not watching chat or Discord. So if somebody's got a question, let me know, Indy. All right, so let's go and say, where's my reset button? There. All right, so now we are a developer. No, wait, hold on. Yeah, we are a developer. I had to think through this. We're a publisher. We're looking for developers. So this is what this is what a publisher is going to see when they're looking up your stuff on the project. You're looking for console, I don't know, PC, portable game consoles. And you don't need an investment. You don't need any of that.
You got muted.
I muted myself.
There you go. Oh.
My son has a beta now. Not a gaming beta.
Fish.
Apparently we have a fish in the house now. That should be fun. Anyway, so all right. So now we're a publisher and we're looking for you as the developer. I didn't do that right, did I? Looking for development. So why is it showing me the same? Oh, I need to click. The companies that I'm searching for are developers. I had to click that. Let's just not complicate it right now. So we've got 73, a month out. We have 73 developers that are already in here and looking for meetings. The reason that is significant is because sales and tickets and people joining digital events don't really spike until much closer to the show, like the final 2 weeks before the show. So we're going to probably end up with well over 150 developers at least that are going to be here. So you need to make sure that you're standing out above everybody else, that when a publisher sees this or they're looking for contract work and they find you, that they do it immediately. So you've got, like we said, 2 sentences. So we can go through, we're a brand new startup with big ambition, experienced talent, working on core multiplayer focused games. That's a good company profile. That is interested in is a little vague. Looking to build relationships with early stage investors and publishers for future games. So it's not 100% clear. Are they looking for investments and publishers for this one or for stuff down the line? And that's something that you need to tweak. You need to work on because, there was, yeah, Danny, there's always a new one.
There's always a new one.
This is ambiguous. You're not 100% sure. So let's scroll down.
The whole point is to make it easy for people that are reading, because they're looking at this, right? When you go and you're trying to make meetings, you're looking, and like you said, there's 72 of these, right? Are you going to take the time and read every single word and every single profile and click on it? You're not. You're going to scroll through it really fast and just look for keywords. You know what I mean?
All right.
It just says, and companies, they're doing the same thing. They're just looking for keywords of what they want.
Bear with me a second.
No.
All right. So let's pick on Adam. Adam, I don't know if you're watching or not. But we're going to pick on you right now. So Adam at Enduring Games, a studio of experienced developers crafting interactive experiences purpose-built for next-gen and current consoles. We provide high-end co-development and value-add retargets. And all right, Adam, you're a little wordy there, but we're getting the picture. So it's interested in, they're looking for partner development, co-development type work. You know, they're not doing straight outsource work. They are open to co-development, and they even have their time zone, which is actually awesome, because in these digital events, half the time you don't know what anyone's time zone is. But I glossed over that at the beginning. That's the thing that you've got to check in on and immediately do when you sign up the first time, is going into your profile and making sure you have the right time zone set, because that's going to dictate the rest of your schedule. So, as we go through here, it's the companies, and you can tell because it's the companies that are experienced with this. Game Pill, we work with them. Mike's done these a lot. This is exactly what they're looking for. Publishing partner for Smashball, and a publisher partner for an early development hack and slash RPG. Crystal clear. No worries. If I'm a publisher and I need either one of those, I know immediately that's what it has to have. And that's what you absolutely have to do. So, so Games Quality, they're not a developer, they're a QA firm, but this is another, I wouldn't put it in the first two sentences, but what you see Tasha's done here, she's got her email address to meeting or her Skype information. All of that is really good to have at these events, because the reality is, if someone, wants to reach out to you, but your schedule is completely booked up, then you need to have another way for them to get a hold of you, because they can still reach out to you outside of the event. It's
which has happened to me more than once.
Yeah, more. Yeah, just happened to be. You derailed my train of thought there, Andy.
Have your information in there so that people can reach out to you outside the event if your calendar is full.
So either have your email address in there, or what I do on mine is I do my Bitly link. Not Bitly link. I'm sorry, the Calendly link. So I'll say in the email that I send out to potential companies to meet with, this is, if we're booked up at the show, that's fine. Here's something where you can, book a time to talk to me outside of the show. And it's a courtesy thing too. You'll have companies that have a lot of people that they want to meet with, but if you give them an option in your, meeting, your intro email to say, here's where you can meet me outside of the event, then you're giving them the option of keeping a slot free on their calendar that normally would have been blocked off, and they can still meet with you. I've had several, different companies at these events come back to me and they reject my meeting request, but they say, in the rejection, it says, hey, I signed up for something. I signed up for a time on Calendly next week. And so it's a good way of getting it out there without having to, use up a slot, or, if someone's extremely busy, or maybe, that's not what they're looking for right now. And so one of the questions that we had on the Discord earlier was, if you're outsourcing, how do you stand out? And so outsourcing is different because partly because of, conference fatigue, and just typically the way that conferences live and digital have gone for years. You will see a lot of publishers or even developers who have in their program, in their description, we are not meeting with service providers. Now, you may not think of yourself as a service provider if you do audio work or art and animation, but you are. That's the reality of it. If you're an outsourced studio that's doing anything less than full-blown game development, most companies are going to consider you a service provider. So instead of sending them an invite that they're going to just immediately click and say, no, this isn't, what we want to do. This isn't why we're here to meeting. Give them an option to sign up for something and meet you the next week or later in the week or some other time, because a lot of publishers are going to want to completely maximize their time at these events with finding new games, new content. They're not worried about a new QA solution or a new localization firm or audio work or video work. We have clients that do visual arts and audio stuff, and they're fantastic, but it's not always easy to get them meetings at conferences because publishers and developers, that's the main reason they're doing this. They're going to find each other, and everybody else is kind of like, okay, you're secondary. And so you need to, especially as a outsource studio or a service provider in general, you need to be able to say, hey, look, I know you're not looking to do these meetings now, but I'm interested in talking to you about what we do. Here's my email address or here's my Calendly link, and let's set up something later. Because the other aspect of it is that the person that is there who's doing the meetings for that publisher or that developer or whatever company it is may not be the person who does, new tech or the audio GM or something like that. It may not even be the right person. So if you give them that secondary option, then it lets them turn around and go back to the companies that they're talking to or the people internally and say, hey, look, I didn't meet with this team, but you can, here's what they do, here's their contact info, and you can still net a deal out of that where you wouldn't have normally. The reason that this is, 2 years ago, you wouldn't have thought to put an email address or, an external link in there because everybody was coming together at these conferences anyway. You wanted that FaceTime. And now we're not really getting that FaceTime anyway, except like literally through FaceTime. And you have more options. And so now it used to be very taboo. I mean, it pissed off conference people. I mean, live conference people to this day, when they see so many people in town and so many industry folk like in the hotel lobbies and things like that, but they're not actually registered for the show. So they're not actually paying for the show, which is done all the time. But, the conference holders get angry because they're like, you're sitting here taking advantage of the networking that we're making available to you because of all these people coming together, but you didn't buy a ticket. No one's paying us for this. We're not getting compensated. Digital events is different, quite frankly, because we're not renting out conference centers. We don't have huge catering budgets to take care of and events to organize and, all the other stuff that goes around with a live contact. These are prime places to not only meet new studios, but introduce yourself. And then at the same time, go and, learn something new, set up longer distance relationships, set up something for somebody else later on. Did you have something, Indy? You popped in.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just want to show my beautiful face. That's all.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So what else what am I missing, Andy? I'm just trying to think through other questions that people have. Anything? All right. So let's.
Oh, wait, I was muted. Sorry. There's one question about the virtual event. So if you go to the Meet to Match thing, it says that it's August 3rd, right?
It does.
Let's see here.
On the Eventbrite link?
Yeah, on the Eventbrite link.
Okay,
I'm going
that's
right
probably it. We were gonna do it the 3rd through the 7th, so it would have been like all week long.
Yeah, it says August 3rd is when it starts.
That is inaccurate.
It says August 3rd through August 6th. For some reason.
Send me the link because I'll get that fixed.
Okay.
We were going to do it for a week long, and then we decided that was quite frankly too long. And so we changed it and cut it down to the 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Liam Twos says, fire. You're fired. I'm guessing that's
Where does
what he
it
meant.
say August 3rd on here?
Huh?
Where does it say August 3rd? I don't see August 3rd.
Really? Here,
Yeah.
I'll send you a screenshot of what I got. Where's my snipping tool? There it is.
You may need to clear your cache out.
I'm not clearing my cache.
Because
I'm not doing it.
It's updated. It says the 4th to the 6th. That's a you problem, Indy.
I thought it was the 4th through the 7th.
Well, it was the 3rd through the 7th, and then we changed it to the 4th through the 6th. Yeah, you're looking at an old version of that site.
Well, dang it.
See? I wasn't really as behind as I thought I was.
I still think you're fired.
Good. Does that mean I get to go home?
I don't want to clear my cache. Dang it.
So let's look at, and I'm going to dig here for a second, what we have, what we send out when we do our invites.
That's weird. Even on a different browser, it says the same thing.
That's because you got to clear your stuff out or refresh it. All right, so
still does, but that's okay. Maybe it's just me.
I'm trying to find.
Okay.
I don't know if I can find it. I have a handy dandy spreadsheet. I mean, not a spreadsheet, but a Word document where I keep email verbiage, basically. Aha, found it. So
it shouldn't be a time zone issue. Well, you know what it could possibly be.
So this is, well, I can't really put it on that screen right now.
Oh, it is a time zone issue because it says Monday, August 3rd at 9 p.m. for me, which is obviously.
Oh, then yeah. It is because it starts at midnight, August 4th Eastern. So yes, technically it is August 3rd for you.
Okay.
I didn't think about that. Okay. So when I put together my invites, and so we just did Ludicious, and I have, a very simple, to the point email that I send out for calendar invites. And it says, I'd like to chat about a few things. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, if this company is interested in any of the developers, the games, the visual arts, audio specialists, that are available to be hired, or, products. And I have a link that goes directly to our client PowerPoint deck to find out more about what you're looking for this year. Just absolutely, this is where I'm saying, I just want to know what you're up to, because, as a consulting firm, I don't want to be sending you a bunch of projects that you're not interested in. I need to know what you want, and that helps me send you the right stuff. Number 3, to discuss our Indie Game Business initiative, podcast, the Discord, a little bit of stuff on that, and a link that says, hey, look, this is where you can see the podcast, and this is our next event that's coming up. And then 4th is a piece of some client tech that we've got that, doesn't really fit into that whole, they're not a developer, they're not a publisher, they don't do visual arts. They have, it's the Scooty store that we work with. And so it doesn't really fit in any other category. So I put that in there too. And then at the bottom, it says, if you want to schedule something outside the event, you can do it here. And it's got my Calendly link. So on your profile, where the company profile is, and the, what you're looking for stuff, that needs to be clear and concise. Because remember, even though you got 250 some characters on your company profile and 500 and some in what you're looking for, that's not all going to be shown until somebody clicks through. And if they're not sold and interested in your company or your service in that first 2 sentences, then they're not going to click through and see the rest of it. That's where you got to be clear and concise. Look at that elevator pitch for your game. Look at that elevator pitch for your company. Then when you're doing your emails to request meetings, your messages on the system to request meetings, that's where you can be a little more verbose, but you still don't want to be don't send people paragraphs of text. Nobody wants to read it. They want to know, they don't, you know, they don't want to know the history of the Dwarven and Elf wars in your RPG. They want to know that you're doing a fantasy-based RPG. And this is what your budget range is. That's what you need to give them, the absolute info that they're looking for very clearly so they can make a decision. Getting rejected for a meeting isn't always bad. What that may have done is simply, saved you the time that you don't have to go back and deal with, taking a half hour out of your schedule to meet with somebody that wasn't going to be a fit anyway. So you need to be doing your research properly, but you also need to make yourself very, very clear what you're doing and what you're looking for. And you have 2 sentences to do that. Any questions? Anybody? Yeah. So if you're out there, like I said, no matter what you're listening, watching, all that stuff on, if you've got a question, pop it in chat and we will get it answered. All right. I'm going to unshare my screen for
Bloop, bloop.
a moment. All right. So that's the long and the short. It's not complete rocket science. You simply need to make sure, excuse me, that you're clear on what you do. Don't put a lot of fluff in there. You're up there, you're up on this platform with, hundreds of other developers, if you're a developer, and everybody knows that you're the best and you're the most cost effective and blah, blah, blah. That's not, those are features. Those aren't unique selling points. You really got to talk about the unique selling points of your studio and your project and what you're doing. And that's when you'll stand out a little more. Little things with, Meet to Match in particular, you'll notice when you go into the attendees thing, there'll be a star system beside their name. That is actually rating how frequently they check in and respond to requests. And it's basically a rating of how, the word is completely evading me right now, how engaged they are in the platform. So, if you're going in there and you see somebody or someone sees you and you've only got like 1 star next to your name, they're trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to meet with this studio or this studio, the other studio's got 3 or 4 stars by their name. Me personally, I'm going to send it to that 3 or 4 star because I know that they're engaged in the platform. I know that they are looking at these requests. If I send it to you, I could be blocking off time on my schedule and, have no one responding to it, because that's the most annoying thing out of all of this is when you send stuff and it sits in your pending for however long and you don't actually get a meeting out of it. And we had a lot, to be blunt, we had a lot of that in the March show because we had so many people who were planning on being at the physical event. And then when COVID hit and GDC got canceled and flights got stopped and everything like that, we merged everybody to the online event, but people didn't read their emails. And that's basically what it boiled down to. They didn't read their emails. They didn't realize it was a digital event, and they just stopped responding and stopped looking at everything. And, we sent multiple messages to all of these people, and they just, if people aren't reading their email, you can't really help them. That's just the reality of it. We can't sit down and call every single person that was on there and 450 some companies and be like, hey, don't forget to check because we're all digital. But I literally had invites that I sent and it said, hey, let's meet. Here's my Skype name. Here's my Google Meets, Hangout, whatever the link was. And I would have people respond and say, well, we're not going to go because of the pandemic. Can we do this meeting on Skype? I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I said in the message that I sent you, but you didn't read it. So,
Hey, we got a question. You want to field this one here?
Yeah, sure. Fire.
All right, let's see. This one is from Pamela. Is it recommended or required to include pitches, videos, etc., in the invitation for publishers, or just a good, and for publishers, or just a good, good intro?
That is a really good question. Some publishers actually do require it. It's not a bad idea. It's actually a really good idea. If you have a gameplay video, then yes, add it in there. We did this last week. I mean, if you saw the show, we had Liam on for the Pitch Your Game initiative, which was amazing. I forget the stats on how many, pitches went out there and the engagement. I know Liam's got them somewhere, but it was an absolute, just wave of pitches. And somebody asked us, like, what's the ideal pitch on Twitter? And the Twitter is a fantastic place to test your pitch because you can't put,
you're limited
paragraph. Yeah. That using Twit longer to do your pitch that's not fair. That's cheating and it's not going to help you any. But what I said was the one or preferably one sentence summary of your game. And the most basic way to do that is, now I got to think of a game. It's basically game A meets game B, but with X, and the X is that unique twist that you're putting on it. We talked on one of the marketing shows where you got 60% is something that everybody knows and loves. 40% is something that, is an evolution on that original genre. 10% is something that's completely new. So if you look at...
That's 110%.
Did I do 110%? So
yes.
60, 30, 10, not 60, 40, 10. I was an English major. I don't do math. Leave me alone. But
that's all right.
I said, do your elevator pitch, one sentence that summarizes your game, then have a GIF or a screenshot of your game, and then a link to your store page on Steam, if you have one, or wherever the game is, if it's on mobile, whatever it may be. That's the ideal thing. So yes, if you're a developer and you're pitching your game, you don't necessarily need to have it in the your company profile or the stuff in your profile part. I mean, you can, but don't eat up that first two sentences of space you have with it. But when you're sending it out to publishers, then yes, absolutely. If you got a gameplay video, put it in there so they can see exactly what they're looking at. And then there's all kinds of, we can deep dive into whole gameplay videos. We've got a couple of folks that I want to get on the show to talk about this, but there's an art to doing that. And so, I saw some videos during the Pitch Your Game thing, and it's like, you have 5 seconds. That's roughly how long you have on a video. And, I saw several, it's like 8 seconds in, and I was like, oh my God, okay, get to what you're talking about. Because it was just like splash screen, company logo, all of this stuff that had nothing to do with the game. When you are pitching, when you have that gameplay video, yes, you need to have your company logo and all of that stuff in it, but it needs to be at the back. They already know who's making the game. They clicked on your, email invite. They're not worried about trying to figure that out. Your video needs to go straight to the action. And the more variation you can show in there, the better off. But yeah, long story short, yes, it's actually a really good idea to have that sort of stuff. Screens and videos in your pitch.
I see that on like if you go to Steam and on Steam videos, right, for a game, you click on it and you go to watch the game, and then it's like 10 seconds of logos.
Yeah.
Why would you put your logos at the end if you're going to do it, or make a little one on the screen or something? Just bam, jump into the excitement, because you got those 5-10 seconds to excite people. Why would you do it with your logo? You want your very, very most awesome stuff, bam, right in your face. Oh my God, this is awesome. They'll figure out the name of the studio later.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing. It's like 9 times out of 10, they already know the name of the studio.
Right. Twitter pitch. Sci-fi competitive PvE. Battle Royale. Don't at me.
But has there been a PvE? Is there a PvE Battle Royale game? It kind of defeats the purpose of a Battle Royale game if it's all PvE, right?
Player versus everyone?
Player versus environment. It's like a single player game versus player. PvE would be you and a whole lot of AI. But I don't know if I've never played. Is the Fortnite Save the World a PvE Battle Royale? I have no idea. No clue. But
there's no NPCs. Oh, well, I guess there is NPCs, right?
In what?
Save the World.
I don't know. I've literally never played it. Now, my son wants to get it because he can get skins and earn V-Bucks in it. Which I'm like,
yeah, you get V-Bucks by grinding.
Yeah, good job, Epic. You've got them an absolute hook on it. There's a free PvEVP game on the Epic Game Store, but it's like single. I don't know, Dave. Are you being sarcastic about that being Fortnite, or are you like serious? Single player plus multiplayer in a battle royal. I don't know. All right, maybe not. It's called Cycle. See,
let's all go play it right now.
That's what I'm like looking because I'm curious. But that's what that's a good example. It's like, would that have been a good elevator pitch? And I know, Dave, it's not your game. I'm not worried about it. But
that was confusing to me.
Anyone to have any question at all about, what you're making. And so here's the other one. And I saw this during the event too, and I've seen this in pitches to me. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's like the very first thing on the Epic Store, the Cycle Season 3. So when you're making these analogies, and let me see if there's a game that I can find that I can do a really quick analogy with. All right, so Borderlands. Let's look at Borderlands. If we want to dial it way back to when, Borderlands is Doom meets Diablo in a post-apocalyptic world. You got first-person shooter meets loot grabber. Now we call them shooter looters. Genre for them now, but that's what you're doing. It's like, okay, here's one kind of game that and here's another game that put them together, and then we're adding a twist. The catch to that is that part, because if you go in and you reference things that maybe very familiar to you, but not so much the rest of the world, it doesn't do you any good. So I had a team reach out to me during the pitch and match things, because I said, during the middle of it, I said, hey, DM me and I'll give you feedback on your pitch. And one company did, and they said if I remember correctly, it was Dead Cells meets something I had never heard of. And I was like, okay, I had to Google that. And it was it's a fairly popular manga, anime. I can't remember if it was a comic book or a different game, but it was very much a niche product. And so, the masses aren't going to see it. Yes, if you happen to send that to the publisher who knows exactly what all that is, then yes, bang on, you're done. You've got you a good match. But you have to realize, when you're dealing with a couple hundred different publishers, that they're not all going to, know what the most niche things are. And so, you've got to boil it back into something that's fairly mainstream. And that's the catch. I think you're muted, Indy.
I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at two different feeds. One of them's probably late then.
Yeah.
So McJohn asked, what are your thoughts on starting your game with a company intro? If the game starts with it, that's completely different. That's fine. Absolutely fine. They've already bought it at that point. You're not trying to sell it to anybody. That is, no problem there. But when you're starting your video, and whether you're putting it on the internet or especially if it's on your Steam page, you don't need to rehash who you are because they're looking at it right there. It's on your Steam page. But that's when it's actually in the game that they purchased. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. All right. So what else? It's like we have rambled on for an hour, like already.
I know, it's crazy.
How about a demo? Demo is fine too, because at the demo stage, you are, again, they're already engaged. They've already downloaded. The goal of your elevator pitch or your GIF or your video is to get them to download it. Once they've downloaded it, you're good to go. You can put the logo in there, the splash screens, whatever you need. The point is not to put it in the videos that are out there, because if you draw out the cool stuff too long or draw out everything before the cool stuff, people are going to lose interest. So you need to be able to, jump in. And remember, everybody's got a short attention span these days. Everybody is like competing with everything else out there for attention. And so you absolutely need to put the cool stuff in, but don't, so if you're, one of the videos I saw recently was for a platformer, and it nearly showed like an entire level. It was like 20 seconds of the character running in the same level. And even that isn't ideal. You want to show the variation in the art style, show the different abilities. You always want to show the in-game stuff, show the cool stuff where you have all the guns and all the explosions and all the visual effects, and fairies are getting their wings blown off and dragons are dying and falling from the sky. All the cool stuff needs to be in there in like that first 5 or 10 seconds. So you do quick little takes so you can see what's going on, and at the same time you get a sense of the end part of the game as well. Yes, we know we're not going to start with all this cool shit, but we're going to end up with it, and that's cool. All right, so what I just saw Danny had a question.
Well, Dave right here, Dave Killerish, is it a good idea to even describe your game in a pitch as this game plus that game versus describing in depth the genre mechanics?
Yes, it's a good idea. And I had somebody ask me last week, do you run the risk of getting in like copyright trouble? And you don't. I mean, you're referencing something, you're not copying it. So, the most common example, and this is like, once again, I'm going to show my age. The best example to me has always been the original Rainbow Six. And yes, this was 20 years ago. But, our agency was down in Durham, really close to Red Storm. And so we did a local, get together type thing. And I sit down and I'm like, okay, somebody else is doing a first person shooter. Yay. What's the big deal? And, the developer said, well, because it is a first person shooter, but before you do it, you go through an entire tactical map of this is where everybody's coming in. So you plan your assault. You don't just like run in there guns blazing. And I was like, oh my God, that's what you have to do. You've got to have something unique, about the game. It's got to have that twist in it. If you're going out there and you're building another, platformer, Dead Cells, Hollow Knight, Celeste type game, you're really going to have to work on why people should be playing that versus these other games that have sold millions and millions of copies because they're awesome. And they're cheaper than yours is right now. So is somebody going to spend $20 on your new game or $5 on one that's been out for a couple of years, does the same thing, and they already know it's way better. Or at least they always assume it's way better. So it is a good one, because what happens if you go in and you start describing the game as in-depth genre mechanics, the problem is you just killed your elevator pitch when you said the word in-depth. Nobody wants in-depth. After you get them interested, then you can go in-depth. But if you're going through and you think through your product and what you're doing and the type of game that you're going for, you should be able to come up with 2 games that are that have influenced it in some way, shape, or another. And if they are at least moderately well-known games, then it's easy. You, by describing those two games or by naming those two games, you've already described the mechanics. You know, it's like Rainbow Six would have been what? It's what was a good tactical game back then? Syndicate? I don't know. Two different games, mash them together, have something unique. But yeah, it is much better to do that as a name Title 1 and Title 2 than it is to go in depth when you're in the elevator pitch. Once you're in that meeting, if you want to elaborate, go ahead. But
here's a good one right here.
First.
Here's a good one. Can your game be too unique? Like before Pokemon Go came out, what do you think that pitch might look like?
Pokemon Go isn't unique. Yes, your game can be unique. But if it is too unique, then you have a problem. Because if you can't describe to me in 2 sentences what your game is about without me having at least an 80% comprehension on what it is, then you don't know your audience and you haven't thought it through. So
yeah, Pokemon, there was a ton of games like Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go came out.
Halo beats Banjo-Kazooie. So, I mean, Pokemon Go, there was literally nothing unique about it, except for the fact that it has Pokemon in it. You know, every friend of mine, when that came out, you know, I would get messages and they're like, remember that game idea I told you about 2 years ago? That's it. I'm like, I know. You know, 15 years ago? It was right. No, it must have been like 10 or 11 years ago. I was doing some consulting for a company that was making a Pokemon Go game. We would go out and get like major movie studios and theaters to run these promotions. And then you would literally go around town, scan QR codes at different sponsors of theirs or other people that were involved in the promotion. And then when you got back, we did it with Iron Man, the original Iron Man, I believe. So you had to go around town, scan 5 or 6 different QR codes at different businesses. So we're driving, you know, customers to these businesses. Each QR code was worth a different piece of his armor. When you got back to the movie theater and you scanned the final one, it checked if you had all of his armor, you got entered into a drawing for something. I forgot what it was. But there was absolutely nothing unique about Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon Go actually used the tech from another game.
Yeah.
Like for all the locations.
What was the name of it? The other Niantic has been around for years.
It was like Inverness or God, I can't remember what it was called.
But yeah, I mean that's another good point. It was literally not even built unique. It was built on top of Niantic's other game that had been around for years. I saw
Pokemon Go pitch. Walk around your neighborhood and catch Pokemon on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That is literally the pitch right there. And then you go into details of how it looks and it's augmented reality and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, Danny didn't have a question. Danny was saying, yes, you are contractually obligated generally to have a publisher splash screen. So yeah, in your game, it's going to be fine because the publisher and everybody else is going to want it there too. I mean, how many games you booted up and it's like 8 different splash screens of companies and technology that are in there before you actually get to the game. It's
right.
Completely different once you're in the game itself. Any other questions? We got anything else? Good. Awesome.
Well, everyone's looking good. I think this was a fun one. I was looking to see what do we got next week there or next Friday. Oh yeah, we have the developer from the Middle East.
Yep.
Which is, let me look here. Coast. We have from Kosov. I don't know how to pronounce it. Kosov Studio. Yeah. Khosouf. I'll learn how to pronounce it, I'm sure, by then. That's what we got on. Uh-oh.
Are you still on your stream? And I'm like, yeah, if I have these on, I am. So, bottom line, the original question was there's a lot of digital events. How do you make sure your company and your game stand out? So step one, make sure you're going to the right digital events. Make sure that when you sign up for one of these, that you're going to be able to actually find the type of people that you're looking for, and you're going to be able to reach out and connect with them. Step two, all of these platforms are different. So you have to look at it. But, on the Meet to Match platform, that's what we went through. You need to fill out your profile first before you do anything else. Fill out your profile. And on our event and the other Meet to Match events, make sure that you are going in and setting your time zone, because it's going to save you a whole hell of a lot of headache.
Yeah.
If you don't. And here's the pro tip for setting your calendar. The system that's currently there to go and block off time slots, because when you sign up, you're basically going to have 24 hours of slots for 3 days straight. And you don't want meetings at 2 a.m. while you're sleeping. And so you can go through and block off each one individually, but it gets cumbersome. So here's what you do. At the top of your calendar, there is a little block, unblock for the whole day. Do that. Block
the whole day and then go unblock the time.
And go back and unblock the ones that you want open. It's quicker. There's not as much verification, and it will take you like 30 seconds versus 10 minutes. I mean, it's a huge flip in that. But first things first, get your profile done. Pick your times.
No fluff in the info. First couple second sentence, explain what it is exactly or what you're doing or what depends on. Explain the studio, explain what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show all of the text. It just shows a little teeny bit on the main page.
All right. So Zero Vapor's got a question, and it's a good one. And we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I will absolutely hit it again. So what about companies that are not game developers that are attending the conferences? So this falls into that service provider area. If you want to know why a lot of these service providers are always the sponsors for these shows, it's because it's the easiest way they can get visibility, because a lot of people don't want to meet with them while they're there. So what you do is the same two things still hold true. Your profile needs to be, it needs to be complete, but it needs to be crystal clear in the first two sentences what your company does. And then the same in the profile section.
What you're looking for.
What you're looking for. And I'm not going to, I know exactly who you are, and I'm not going to out everything on here, but you need to have more than just, I am a blank type of outsourced studio. Why are you different? Why are you unique? And it needs to be there in that first two sentences. And you need to realize that there's a high probability that a lot of the companies that are at the conference, developers and publishers alike, are going to not want to meet with service providers. So when you're sending those invites to have meetings, go to Calendly, or there's another one that Ed uses, and I can't remember the name of it. But it's one of these services that it links into your calendar, and people can automatically set up an event. Set up a meeting. You can actually do it in Google Calendar if you want to. You can set up the same thing, and you don't have to worry about it anyway. But
that's Calendly works through Google calendars too.
Yeah, so. But you can actually set Google calendars to do it, because that's what I do with the show. I send people a special calendar link so they can go and pick the day they want to be on it. And that's how we're doing the scheduling for the speakers at the August event. It's like, I don't have time to sit down and figure out the best track progression through everything at our digital event for speakers. So I literally just sent people a calendar. It's like, pick your slot. Very easy. When do you want to talk? And you do it like that, but have something, that's available for them to meet you outside of the show, because I am willing to bet you're going to have a lot of interest in what you're doing, but people are going to want to talk about it the next week, not like during the show, because developers, especially indie devs, are going to be pushing hard to try to find a publisher, and publishers are going to be looking for new content, not necessarily, really cool tools that can save them time. So put it in there. The first two sentences in both what you're looking for and your profile need to be like dead on. And then you can elaborate in the email, the request that you send. But always have a thing at the bottom that says, hey, if your schedule's full or you're not meeting with service providers at the show, here's my calendar link. Here's a link to my calendar. Here's my email address. Let's set something up for next week, because you will get a lot more of those probably.
Here's the other question. Would it be better to give a talk if possible? I think it's always a good idea that if you can give a talk, to always give a talk every single time you possibly can ever.
Is that a hint? Is that what you're what you're getting at there? Speaking of that, yes, we are still open. We're actually still taking submissions for talks.
And he left me. That's okay. I think I have the link right here. Maybe I do not. I thought I had it. He left. But yeah, I think it's always good to always do a talk whenever you can. I am not much of a talker, but there we go. Now you're back.
Yeah, the thing about StreamYard is that if I click off the tab and it closes, it kicks me out of the stream. All right, so if you are interested in being a speaker at the August event, there's the link. What topics are we looking for? Hold on, I can tell you.
All of the topics. No, I don't.
We're still looking for some.
Can you post that on LinkedIn too?
What's that?
Can you post that on LinkedIn too? I can't copy and paste it out of StreamYard. And it doesn't post on LinkedIn.
I'm not even in LinkedIn right now, but yeah, I can.
Okay.
So yes, if you can give a talk, that's going to be better. In your particular case, you have to be careful. And I'm not talking about our event. I know what you're doing. I know we're all good there, and I'll absolutely look at seeing if there's a fit to get you in there. But the majority of these companies are going to want a like they reserve spots like that for speakers under sponsorships. So if they feel that what you're going to be talking about is too salesy, then they won't let you do it. They will.
It's kind of like coming on the show, right? If you want to come on the show and talk about topics, we are all for that, but we don't really like, and we'll talk about your game or product or whatever, but we won't just like, okay, go there, go do this. We're not, you know what I mean? So if you want to come on the show and you have a subject you would like to talk about, then please do come on the show.
Okay. So we need community building, crowdfunding, but maybe not. Anya Combs, who is the director of games at Kickstarter, is going to be giving a talk on.
And she's going to be on the show.
Everything you wanted to ask about a Kickstarter.
I'm super excited about that.
I am too. It's cool. And I talked to her last week, and she's got a fun job. So let me put it that way. She's in charge of video games and board games. And I'm like, Discord management. We need a couple of folks who are really good at managing and building out their Discord to come and share some information. Let's see, self-publishing talks. Working with IP, running indie studios. We're going to have AMAs on a lot of this, but we don't have any specific talks on it. And so I'm reading off these categories because that's what I did. I literally, if you were on the Discord server a couple of months ago, I said, what do you want to hear? We're going to keep it all based on, business licensing and marketing. We're not doing tech talks or art talks or design talks or anything like that. This is all going to be about business and what did you want? And so I went through all of those responses and built these different categories that I'm looking for. And so we've got almost everyone covered, but I want more coverage. So I would like to end up with 2 or 3 different talks for each one of these sections. And I don't want it to be like me and Indy, giving the talks at the end of the day so we can get it all in there. That would defeat the purpose. But in reality, if you've got good knowledge to share about the distribution, marketing, licensing, anything along those lines that goes into helping you actually work as a studio versus just a hobby, then yeah, we'll absolutely look at it and give it a shot and see if there's a fit for you.
And if you think maybe, man, the stuff that I know, everybody knows, it's probably not the case. No.
If that was the case, we wouldn't have this show.
Yeah. What's that cup? Is that a Star Wars cup?
This is from my lovely friends and clients at Bad Rhino Studios. It says, "I hate people," and it's got a grizzly bear drinking a beer. It is like the most perfect for me ever. And that was sent to me by a client. And love you, Ryan. That was awesome. The paint is starting to chip off the bottom of this thing. I use it so much. So yeah, the other thing is, if you send us a good submission and we just don't have room for it at the event, we'll have you on the show.
Yeah.
The reason we didn't have speakers for the last year and a half is because I was looking around and I'm going, okay, look, we do all of this shit on the show. Why do we need to have speakers at an event? But then so many people were like, we need to have speakers. We want to hear speakers. So I'm like, all right, fine, we'll do speakers.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep it very focused, and it's all going to be about the business licensing and marketing side of it.
It's going to be a blast.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how Indy figures out how we're going to do it too.
Oh, I got it figured out in my head.
There's a lot of things I have figured out in my head, Indy.
Yeah.
All right.
Take time to get it set up, and you're going to have to align some stars, and you know what I mean, and pray for and have some faith. That's how it's going to happen.
Yes, and listen, we all want to be sending good vibes to Indy today because he's got a very important meeting coming up, and we want him to do well. So anyway, with that, I think that covers it. You all know, if you have questions about this at any point in time, just ping me on Discord, send me an email. I am more than happy. You can send me a tweet, but I suck at checking Twitter, so you might not get an answer for a couple of days. But emails,
Discord. Discord.gg/IndieGameBusiness. You can also follow us on the social medias, Facebook.com/IndieGameBusiness and Twitter.com/BusinessIndie. And all of the podcasts, this one is going to be up there soon. It's going to be on anchor.fm/IndieGameBusiness. Also, if you don't know anything about the San Francisco Summer Edition Meet to Match and Indie Game Business Conference, just go to indiegame.business. Jay made it so easy. Indiegame.business.
The internet made it easy. That was
the internet. Available. Yeah.
And we've got another wave of speakers that I'll be putting up on there soon. It's literally just a matter of me having time to sit down and do it. So we have a lot of really cool people.
Yeah, and keep an eye out on the social medias, because I've been posting who the speakers are. So learn about the speakers. You'll see them. Yeah, just look on Twitter or Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, there's in-depth descriptions of who they are, what they do, what they're going to talk about, all that good stuff. So keep an eye on that.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great, whatever. It's Wednesday. Have a great hump day. We'll see you on Friday. And then next week, I'm going to be out of town. So I don't think there's going to be a show, right?
No, I scheduled one because you said that you weren't 100% sure if you were going to be out of town yet. So I scheduled it anyway. But luckily, due to the handy dandy tech that we use now,
you should be able to do it.
Yeah, I can handle it. I can handle it, Indy.
Okay.
I won't screw this up. Maybe.
Just like what happened today is like, oh, it's not going to LinkedIn. You can just like close it and then restart it, and then it started right up. So LinkedIn got most of the podcast, but at least it worked. At least it didn't just stop. Like if with OBS, it would have just like been done, and then it never even would have got there. So that was good.
I can do it.
You can do it.
All right, everybody, stay safe.
All right, thanks.
Stay away from each other and wear your mask.
Yeah. My wife has a shirt that says, "If I can turn around and punch you in the face, you're too close to me."
Exactly.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all.